What's up, guys? Welcome back to OverTakes. This is Misfit, and today I'm going to be doing my Grand Finals recap. We're going to talk about the two matches, mostly the Grand Finals itself. The first Losers Bracket Final was kind of anticlimactic, but the Grand Finals was amazing. And we're going to talk about that in this episode. We're going to talk about Dallas, San Francisco, all the things that happened, and my overall thoughts on the whole thing as far as what it means for Overwatch League history and all that stuff. But before I get into that, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me. All of your support's been greatly appreciated, especially over the last couple of weeks. Thanks a lot, guys, for checking out my videos. I'm really thankful for you guys watching my videos. Even if you didn't watch all the way through and you just looked at my picks or whatever, I appreciate it a lot. And if you're new, thanks a lot for coming in, checking me out. I do Overwatch League content 2 to 3 times during the week in the season. Right now, we're going to kind of be sporadic. Not sporadic. It's going to be hit and miss depending on what goes on. Once we get into the, we're kind of in the LFT season. We're going to start getting into some more of that stuff. I'm going to do a kind of a season recap coming up at the end of the week / early next week. But thanks a lot for coming in, tuning in, checking me out. So I'm a little late on this video. Haven't been feeling great, and I got my flu. I got the flu and the COVID boosters, and I have reactions to that crap all the time. So I wasn't feeling good enough, and I was kind of hazy and foggy after the finals. So this is the only day I could find some time to do it and be in a normal state of mind. But anyway, so let's talk about this. I'm still I've watched the finals twice, all the way through. I've watched the last two maps at least 3 to 4 times, and that was an amazing match. But before we start getting into the bits of that, we'll talk about the Houston-San Francisco match really quick. That was not the best match. You know, it is what it is, and if you're a Outlaws fan, you got to be ecstatic about the way your team performed this year. There was a lot of questions coming in. There was a lot of things that happened as far as rosters go. You made a trade mid-season. You got creative, got rid of Iris. And, you know, to get third and not be in the conversation for something like that early on in the season. And, the Outlaws, I looked at them as a top 10, maybe a little bit higher. I think I had them at 5, 6, somewhere in there. I had them up pretty high. They looked like they're coming in, they were going to be good. But Dante's the guy that came in and saved the day, along with Pelican and Merritt, who, if Proper didn't exist, could have very well been Rookie of the Year. Let's be honest about that. On the Sojourn, he was amazing. And, even early on, 6 months ago when we started up on this, he was fantastic on Soldier 76 and some of the other stuff. So this team came together pretty good, and they lost. It happens, and, it's a good stepping stone and a building block for this team to move forward. San Francisco got their shit together on LAN, and honestly, that lower bracket run was pretty phenomenal. They just kind of went through teams. I mean, what can you say? Proper stepped up when he needed to step up. He looked not lackluster. He wasn't quite the normal like he does in the regular season where he just takes over matches. He started taking over, and he took over in this match. And the Krusty is an amazing coach, and he always seems to have his finger on what works. It's just play around Proper. He knows the guy is cracked, insane. I mean, the guy won Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same year. That's nuts. On any level, on any sport. And look, before you guys start with everybody talks about Proper, look, I'm sure your guy is great, but this guy is generational talent. You could say what you want, and if you say Vin Dime deserved Rookie of the Year, no. And there are guys, yeah, sure, you could make arguments for that could have won the MVP, but they're still not quite on Proper level. And you're just, it's hating the team with a good player. It's like, to me, it's like hating Tom Brady or hating ex-player in the NBA. People hate Michael Jordan. People hate LeBron, Steph Curry, you name it. Yeah, you hate him because he beat your team and whatever. You just don't like the fact that a guy like Proper can step into this league and just dominate like he did. And he started dominating in this lower bracket run that San Francisco had. And let's talk about the finals. Let's get into this. I want to talk about all the things that, led up to it. So finally we had a LAN after a couple of years, and god damn did I miss that. It wasn't quite in the Barclays Center level 2018, like the place exploding and, Profit doing things, and there's, 40,000 people there. But you know what? It was still a LAN. This is what Overwatch League is about. I believe I said that in one of my other episodes. I also got the days wrong in those. I was a little off on the calendar, but my mouth and my head were working on two different things. Let's put it that way, which normally happens. It was in an arena. It was on LAN, as it had been all week, and watching just the LAN itself was great. It made me miss Blizzard Arena back in the day. If you guys are new, go back and watch some of the old matches and stuff from Season 1, Season 2 in Blizzard Arena. Especially Season 1. It was just electric. And we had Golden Boy doing the MC job, and he is always amazing. I love that fucking dude. Contract-wise, if I'm doing whatever sport, having that guy be the MC is amazing. He gives it that spectacle kind of vibe, and I love that. But to the match, we have Dallas, who just ran through the upper bracket. San Francisco did a lower bracket run, and they were one of the early victims of the craziness the first two rounds. And you know what? This match, before we talk about the details and what happened, this match, I would go out on a limb and say, was one of the best Overwatch League matches I've seen, period. Let alone the best grand finals. There are matches you could go back in history and say, one of the ones I always go back to that I thought was phenomenal was NYXL versus London Spitfire Season 1, Stage 1 finals. That was fantastic. There was a couple of other ones. The Stage 2 final in 2019 with the Shock and the Vancouver Titans. A couple of those Dallas and Shanghai matches that we had during the COVID era. Those were fantastic. But this was far and away the best match that I've watched in Overwatch League. I mean, yeah, you could go back to Apex and the early days and say, a couple of those matches were better. I'll give you that. But as far as Overwatch League goes, that match had all of the things that I wanted. It was dramatic. It had guys popping off. It had strategy. It had all the things that you wanted. It was close. It looked like San Francisco was going to take over the match, and then Dallas came back, and it was back and forth, and the final, everything was close and tight, and you're on the edge of your seat, and that's all that I wanted from a finals, and we finally got it. Goddamn, are these players great on both of these teams. I will not take anything away from either one of these teams in this final. Yeah, you could say nitpick and say this person played like this person played like that. But you know what? Everybody on the LAN, on the grand finals, played out of their minds. It was a couple of plays here, like a couple of picks, a couple of missteps, maybe here and there, that shaped this game. But it was mostly excellent execution, clutch performances by players, big players, and it was all that I wanted to see. And it was amazing. But starting out, you could tell it was tense. You were feeling it. And Proper, in the beginning parts of this match, was showing the people that decided that he doesn't deserve all of the props, that he's that good. And that dude was insane. If you didn't think Proper was a generational talent before this, and you come out of this match, and you don't say that he is, you are smoking the shit, man. Because that dude was insane. They literally, you use Primal Rage for a bunch of different variables that happen. Obviously, you guys know that. You play the game. But in this match, the thing that the Fuel ended up doing with Primal Rage was just get Proper out of the fight. It was the only way to get close to him and just annihilate him and get him away. Minus some of the times where Edison, and it was quite a bit, Edison stepped up, and that was the thing. You had Edison playing just as good. Edison played really, really well. But you could have thrown the Grand Finals MVP at Edison, and I would have been okay with that. Fearless, okay, that's the story. That's how he got it, in my opinion. Yes, his Winston was fantastic. Yes, it kind of was, I wouldn't call it game-changing, but it dictated a lot of things that were happening late in that match. During the rest of the finals, though, there were a lot of guys on the Fuel, and they play a hive mind thing, and this is the hive mind kind of, I'm using other people's words, a more structured, team-oriented style of Overwatch than the Shock do, and eventually that prevailed. So early on, you have stories in this match. And some of the things that people weren't noticing, I think, to me, was Sparkle, in my opinion, Sparkle outplayed and was starting to outplay Striker on the Reaper. The Reaper was a phenomenal choice of picks, early on in this. And Dallas was the one that kind of originated it. And there were so many times in this match, and Sparkle could have gotten the MVP of the match too, in my opinion, in my estimation. Obviously, San Francisco wins, you got to give it to Proper because he was just dominant. But every time Striker had something going on, cooking something, diving into the back line with a Death Blossom, Sparkle was right there countering it. That's one of the things I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, was how good Sparkle was in this match. He was almost just sneaky good in this. He was very calculated and very much flanking and doing a lot of things that he saved, at least after watching it a couple times, he saved at least one or two crucial fights in maps that Dallas won. And it was after, it's like Striker would go in and he would come in right after him, sometimes on a Kitsune rush, not using Death Blossom, and he would just mow down the Shock. And he just played phenomenally. Also, I think something that people are not really giving a lot of credit to Dallas for in this is, yes, Fearless was great. Edison was great. I think Sparkle shined a lot brighter than people want to say. But Fielder also, and Chio, though he got picked off sometimes, he distracted Proper enough to kind of turn the tide later on. Yeah, he might have gotten picked off, but you know what? While he's dancing around on the walls, fucking around with Proper, he's not picking off their back line. So he did his job. And honestly, Fielder played phenomenally on Kariko. You can't fault them. And also, on to San Francisco. They played fantastic. Violet, at the beginning of the season, I scoffed at the idea that Violet was going to be their main Lucio player. I figured they were just going in thinking it was going to be a double flex. And goddamn, that dude plays a very, very good Lucio. He's not super aggressive. He's not on that Chio level or Vindime where they're just up in your face, like constant aggression. But he's calculated. He knows when to go in. He's a very smart player. And he did a lot of things in this match that provided a lot of things for Proper and for the Fuel, or the Shock to get to the point where they did in this match. I mean, they had Dallas, it seemed like dead to rights at points. But Dallas nutted up and came back. And, it wasn't that the Shock were playing bad. It was just Dallas played better at points. But honestly, the biggest map in this match that turned the tide for Dallas to me was the Esperanza the fucking push map, the Portugal push map. I'm sorry. You can still use your Overwatch League bingo card. Esperança, whatever it is. Portugal. Dallas looked like they were on the ropes. The Shock had won 2 maps in a row. Proper was going nuts. And they managed on the back of Sparkle and some clutch plays by Fielder. And this is when you saw Fearless. I think I said Fielder won the MVP. Fearless. This is when he started harassing Proper a little bit more because he was just being way too impactful for the Shock, and someone had to do something, and he took it into his own hands on Winston to do it. And it was a fantastic strategy. And yeah, it was kind of a unknown quantity. You kind of go after the Sojourn, but to keep him quiet, you gotta harass him. But there were a couple plays in this that I think shaped the rest of the match, and Dallas does not lack confidence, but you could see them getting a little nervous, not deathly nervous, like this is going to end, but like, oh fuck, this isn't kind of going the way we want, let's regroup. And they did. And if you look at the end of that, there was a chance that you don't get too many back and forths on these push maps. Except for that one, the Portugal map. That one seems to be you get a little bit more back and forth, and I think it has a little bit more room maybe than Coliseo or Toronto. But I like the way it plays out. It lends itself to a better experience, because especially with the new characters that you have in here now, with Kariko and Sojourn, and that kind of thing, there's places to hide and jump around and like flank, and it just makes for an experience. And, Sparkle had a big play in this where he Death Blossomed into the back of the Shock. I believe it was on towards the end. And, Stryker had just made a big play, and he countered it and just said, hey, we're not done. And they went in and they finished them. They didn't finish the map. They finished them off. It was very, very close. I mean, Oasis, you get the idea that, all right, this is the Shock's day. And the defense that the Dallas Fuel put up on Route 66 was nothing short of amazing. They countered the San Francisco Shock better than any team had done all year long, especially in this tournament, minus the first match they played and lost. The Shock, that is. The way they played around Big Earls and relied on Edison hitting some shots and Sparkle doing what Sparkle does, and that's, just harassing and getting in when you least expect it and doing the things that he does. They were working in perfect Dallas Fuel form to me. They just basically took that comp that they rode last year a little bit, changed a couple of parts in it. Instead of having May Reaper, where you have a lot of defensive capabilities and all that, they use Sojourn. Obviously, you're using Sojournist, because if you don't, you're dumb. The Sojourn Reaper, Sojourn starts doing some damage and all that stuff, and the Reaper comes in and takes care of business, or she rail shots, starts a fight, you clean up with Reaper and keep going. And it was just a rinse and repeat scenario for Dallas with this on this map. And I feel like the Shock were, not to be stupid, but shocked at how good Dallas played that. And it started with Edison got an opening pick on it, and it was just like, nope, we're not letting you take this, and we're not going home. And that added to the drama to me, and it made it fantastic. Obviously, we all saw the last map. Dallas just got in stride. Edison got on fire. Sparkle was on fire. The whole team was just, they felt it. You could see them tasting it. They had San Francisco on their back foot, even though San Francisco would come back, because San Francisco is a great team. But Dallas ends up winning it. And, props to Dallas. from the inception of the league, Dallas was the team that was supposed to be the promised team. You know, if you go way back to, you know, the XQC Seagull, that whole team, they brought AKM in, all that kind of crap. You know, that was supposed to be the team that was going to, you know, take over the Overwatch League, and they didn't. And then they signed crappy contracts, and they had guys on their team by 2020 that were playing fucking Valorant in scrim rooms and shit, or whatever they were doing. They were more concerned with playing Valorant than they were playing in the Overwatch League, just collecting money. And here we are today, where they finally got a team where Hastro went out and just like, you know what, fuck this. I'm going out, I'm getting Element Mystic, and this is what we're going to do. And, you know, they have their ups and downs. People doubted them early in the year. They said they weren't going to be any good because of last year. Towards the end, they kind of fizzled out. But you know what? Here we are. Dallas Fuel 2022 Overwatch League champions, and well-deserved, in the greatest match in Overwatch League history for the championship. San Francisco will be back. You know, the first iteration of the Shock when they won the 2 back-to-back, they were cocky, but they did have a loss, and it was Stage 1 finals against Vancouver, and they felt the defeat. This team was amazing, and, you know, they didn't quite get the gold in any of the stages, but they almost got the ultimate championship instead of, you know, taking the minor ones. But looking at the big picture, they are going to be in the mix for a long time. There's some other teams we're going to talk about on the next episode that I don't know what the hell happened. We're going to have a review of the whole season and do that coming up. But congrats to the Dallas Fuel for winning the championship. Well-deserved, well-played. And, you know, San Francisco has nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed of. It could be fuel in the future. No pun intended there, seriously. It could be fodder, whatever you want to call it. It could be a stepping point for this team. Because if you saw them at the end, a couple of the rookies like Proper and Finn, and a couple of them, they were just looking there dumbfounded. Like, how the fuck did we lose? I don't want this to happen again. You could see it in their eyes. They did not want to see that happen again. And it's going to come to fruition. These guys could win a championship down the road, for sure. I mean, obviously, you get meta weirdness and all that stuff, which added to the mixedness, and I'm not going to get into that. I complain about it all the time when they do these playoff patches, but it's neither here nor there. If you're a good team, you play through it, and Dallas and San Francisco did, and Dallas happened to win. And Dallas beat them, you know, fair and square, whatever you want to call it. Dallas did their job. They came in, they got through the meta insanity. They came up with the comp. They dictated what was happening in the league because they found the best combination. But congrats to Dallas. All you Dallas fans out there, sorry I jumped off the wagon. Maybe that helped you out a lot. I didn't pick Dallas in the last match. I picked it 4-2. But I didn't pick them 4-3. I wish I did. But as far as my initial bracket, which was a hot mess of what the fuck, but I had Seoul winning. That didn't happen. I had them beating the Glads, which whatever happened to them, which we'll talk about later. But Dallas, 2022 Overwatch League champions. Amazing match. It's going to go down the annals of Overwatch League. I don't know. You could say esports, but a lot of people don't give us any kind of time of the day. They're too concerned about guys fucking peeking and shooting. That's all they care about. I'm not going to dive into that. Oddly, League of Legends had their best finals in a decade on the same weekend. That's going to do it, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. All of your support's greatly, greatly appreciated, especially over the last couple of weeks. Thank you very, very much. If you're new, you made it all the way through, thanks for your support. If you hit a like, hit subscribe, do that YouTube jazz for me. That would be fantastic. It'll jump me up in the algorithms and all that stuff, and we can talk more Overwatch League. Don't forget to comment down below, guys. I want to hear what you guys thought of the finals. I thought they were great. I mean, San Francisco fans might not think they're as great, but you got to admit, at the end of the day, this was a fantastic game. Unfortunately, your team lost. Anyway, this is Misfit. I'm out. Everybody stay safe, have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you on the next one.